Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? This is Jim from the Pain PT. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying this channel here. I really like to put out free information for all you, and I've ramped it up for 2025 to offer you as much as I can free so you can understand these conditions more, so you can get out of them and become what I call a success story. You come on the channel here and share it with other people. This work needs to spread wide and far. It's very still a small segment of people who understand this and then also engage in this type of practice and treatment. So my job is to spread this information wide and far out there. Please pass this on to other people, like the channel, get people involved here because this information is real. This is neuroscience. This is research that I share with you with evidence of the week to show you the actual data that proves to you the importance of this here, the brain and nervous system in the role of creating and also in the persistence of chronic symptoms in your body, a whole host of symptoms, not just chronic pain, but most chronic symptoms that don't have a physiological, structural, organic cause to them. So I appreciate all of you. If you're looking for more support on your journey, one-to-one assessment coaching or brain retraining sessions, which I now offer 3 times a week, which is I'm putting out there to teach people's brains that they're safe, that they're fine, that there's nothing wrong, okay, to work through our own issues, work through our own things in our brain that are limiting us from recovering. So if you have an interest in that, you can go to my website, thepainpt.com. And here we go. Let's dive into the evidence of the week. This particular study I'm going to talk about today was in the Journal of Pain Research, 2023. And the title of the article is Low Back Pain Patients' Perceptions Regarding Their Own Radiology Reports. Okay. And again, we're using the low back pain here, but this could be any condition, right? So I don't want you to say, well, I'm not going to listen to this because he's talking about back pain. No, I want you to hear this because this is about the nocebo effect. And it doesn't matter if it's back pain, but there's lots of data, and I'll share it another time about other conditions and getting back scans and different imaging results. So this one, again, titled Low Back Pain Patients' Perceptions Regarding Their Own Radiology Reports. Okay, so as we go through the introduction here, we know just in particular about low back pain, most low back pain cases, like they say here, are non-specific. Okay, they're idiopathic, meaning we don't really know what's causing it. There isn't anything really happening that's dangerous. And they usually improve spontaneously with conservative treatment. Okay, and that's about, almost 80% of people can get low back pain in their lifetime. So it's really normal, really common. And most of those people, the large percentage of them, it goes away. Okay, normally, naturally. But what we have seen over the years now with technology is, like they say here, is this increased availability of advanced imaging modalities. Okay, has increased the number of patients that are referred to getting these scans done. Okay. And since these reports are written in a professional language, medical language that is oriented towards the medical audience, patients might misunderstand the information in these reports. And this is really important. You're going to see in the study how powerful this is. Okay. And what can happen here is patients get this information and they say here that unwarranted fear and anxiety might be experienced, which could in turn support nocebo effects. Now, nocebo is your brain. I really want to drive this home that your brain creates a nocebo effect, which means more symptoms, increased symptoms in the body, intensity, duration, different location, that this is real, right? And I'm going to go over more nocebo studies as we go forward with evidence to show you your brain can produce anything in your body. It can ramp up things and create new symptoms in your body. And again, what they say here is that this unwarranted fear and anxiety, which could support nocebo effects, which can paradoxically intensify patients' symptoms, right? So this actually makes it worse. Furthermore, patients' tendency for pain-related catastrophic thinking, which a lot of us have here with these conditions, might contribute to the potential negative effects of exposure to the radiology report. All right. So the purpose of the study here that they were looking at was, number one, to evaluate patients' perceptions of the value of self-reading their radiology report, their spinal report, prior to seeing a professional caregiver. So they wanted access to this. And number two, to assess the degree of agreement between patients and medical experts on the clinical relevance of the medical terms that are commonly mentioned in these reports. And lastly, to assess the psychological effects following patients' direct access to these radiology reports and the possible relationship with pain catastrophizing. Okay, so you're going to see as we go through the results, the power of this stuff. And this is something that I see in a lot of people. So they looked at a list of 22 commonly used anatomical medical terms in the various radiological reports, okay, that were generated from taking these scans like MRIs and X-rays and things like that. And they assessed the patient's subjective experience of anxiety symptoms, okay? And they looked at a list of 9 different common anxiety symptoms to see if the patients had that. They assessed catastrophizing, right? Pain catastrophizing, which is important. That's a negative thinking about what's going on. It includes rumination, magnification, helplessness. 162 people in the study, 162. And what they found here in the results, I'm going to go through some of the data, which you'll find very interesting and hopefully makes sense, is that 74% of the patients stated that they had a desire to review their radiology report before meeting the physician. Again, we want this information, right? This is our desire. 74%, so that's a lot of people. 70% of the patients stated strong agreement with a desire to search for further information on the internet or social media to better understand the medical information detailed in the report. Now, this is where we get into trouble. We turn to Dr. Google, right? We think we're a doctor. We think we understand this. We go and type in herniated disc, disc protrusion, facet arthropathy, right? Disc bulges, things like that. We type in these terms that, again, these common terms we see on the medical report. And what does it pull up? Usually not good information. We go down the rabbit holes, people go on message boards, but 70% of the people had a desire to search for more information ourselves. And 74% of the people wanted this report before they even saw the doctor. Now, again, are you a doctor? No, you're not, probably, right? So the idea is that we're reading this information, we're taking it in, and you're going to see, if I know where we're going, you're going to see some effects here. Okay. So what we see here is that, there's different terms here that, the patients had, so when comparing the patient's grading with experts grading, right? So what the patient thought versus the expert, the patient's degree of concerns were significantly higher in 6 of these terms that they found, 6 of them. One was disc bulges, disc extrusion and protrusion, discogenic changes, osteopenia, ligamentum flavum hypertrophy. Okay. And so what we found is, again, that the patients had much more worry and fear about these labels they got, right? These medical labels on their scans. And as we go through more of the data here, we found the psychological effects of these radiology reports is that overall patients reported experiencing anxiety symptoms while reading the report. So 49%, so about half of them, half the patients reported restlessness, 48% reported worry, and 44% reported increased preoccupation with the pain. So almost half of the people had what we would say is anxiety reaction to reading this. Now, what do we know about anxiety? I talk a lot about it on this channel. What does anxiety do to your body? Well, as you know, it increases the symptoms, right? It creates emotional distress, catastrophizing, hypervigilance, all the things I talk about. What is that going to do to the symptoms? Magnify them. And this is what I see personally over and over again. So the study is really important. And they found here that both the degree of concerns and the number of symptoms reported were significantly associated with the pain catastrophizing scale. So they're related to this catastrophizing, right, that we talk about, which is this negative thinking for the worst about what's going on. So in a discussion of the paper now to look at discussing these results, again, just around back pain, for example, over 2/3 of all adults experience back pain at some point in their lives, making back pain one of the leading reasons for primary care physician visits. And as you know, most people get scans, right, when they go. And again, most patients here in this study stated a strong desire to review their radiology report before meeting with the treating physician, and felt that reading the report without the mediation of the treating physician helped him gain a better understanding about their medical condition. Now, again, people want knowledge, they want to understand this, but as you know here, hopefully, we're learning that this information is not always giving us the truth here. These terms are very scary for people, right? They scare people more. So what they said here is that direct access to these medical reports have several downsides. First, the potential incomplete and sometimes misleading understanding of these imaging findings. They found in the study here that patients tended to exaggerate, make bigger in their mind, the clinical importance of common radiological findings that have little to no clinical significance or relevance to the cause of their back pain, right? Dr. Sarno, who many of you know or don't, wrote many best-selling books, and he would say that these things are normal abnormalities. Many of the things you see on your scans are normal abnormalities. They're happening with aging. They're happening over time. Our bodies are not perfect. We're not just this, nothing should be seen. We have all these things we see. But many times, by looking at these radiology reports without a history taking, without an understanding of the whole picture, we're looking at information that has no clinical relevance on the person's pain. Okay, so again here, they also found that a radiological report is written by a radiologist who examines only the imaging, right? The radiologist only has the scan. The radiologist doesn't have the person's history. Okay, they never interact with the patient. And considering this, and also due to the concerns around malpractice, right? Medical malpractice, spinal radiology reports include extensive descriptions of all abnormal findings, regardless of whether the findings are relevant to the presenting symptoms, they're pathological or age-related findings. They put everything down, right? Because they need to cover themselves. So as a result, patients are exposed to the radiology report, seldom have the knowledge or experience to adequately understand the significance of the finding described. Like I said before, are you a doctor? Because what we do is turn to Dr. Google and type in the findings, and all of a sudden, as you can imagine, this blows up a whole level of concern in the person's brain, which then blows up symptoms in the body, which then can actually exaggerate your symptoms and make them become chronic. And they say here, this may cause misunderstandings that can lead the patient to believe the test reveals extensive pathological conditions of the spine, which, like I said before, are just normal abnormalities. And this development, combined with popular usage of the internet as a medical reference tool, may contribute to unwarranted distress before they even meet with the treating physician. So again, we're ramping this up in our minds. And I also see people who see the physician and the physician gives them negative information, and that makes their symptoms worse, right? And again, we need to understand that that's the brain there. Okay, this is the brain now causing more symptoms. This is not the body. This is just information that has gone into the brain negatively and caused a physical symptom to increase or exacerbate or even start from scratch. Okay, that's the power of the brain here. And I think these studies are proving this, and that's why I share this information too. A second downside they found is that these reports, radiological reports, have the potential to elicit negative emotional responses. Right now we're into emotions we talk about a lot, from exposure to unfiltered medical information, as well as incomplete understanding of the medical terms used in the report. And here we go. This is where we get into the work that I speak of all the time. And here's what the authors say. This can lead to misconceptions of these terminologies, which can convince the patients that there is possibly serious structural damage to their spine. Something's wrong with me. The negative perception of having spine damage can lead to a persistence of pain and an inadequate response to treatment by the amplification mechanism of catastrophizing, right? Catastrophizing. I mentioned that a lot in my videos, that alone, that catastrophizing is really, really a psychological mediator of causing more pain in people. And that's your brain. In this particular study that they did here, almost approximately half of the patients reported to experience at least one anxiety-related symptom while reading the report. As a result, patients reported increased preoccupation with their pain, leading to a potential nocebo effect, which what that means is more pain. They had more pain, right? Half the people, okay, from the anxiety then creates catastrophizing, which then creates more intense symptom. And then the people believe now, as you can imagine, that because they read that, now they believe it was that thing. Oh my God, this disc protrusion, extrusion. Oh my God, that was causing all my pain, and the pain is getting worse now. And it has nothing to do with that, right? It has to do with the brain again and the nocebo effect. And what they say here, in other studies, another author found that radiology reports can produce a nocebo effect, as they often describe incidental changes with alarming terminologies, which lead the patient and surgeon to feel that some intervention is required for the spine. Now you can imagine they're getting worse. The surgeon's like, well, we need to do injections now and nerve blocks, and then, oh, maybe we need surgery now, right? So you can see where this starts to go. And what they say here about catastrophizing in the past 2 decades, so over 20 years of data here, everybody, how many of your doctors and healthcare people ask you about catastrophizing? Because we got 20 years of data on this. In the past 2 decades, catastrophizing is acknowledged as one of the most important psychological predictors of pain experience. Now, again, catastrophizing is about fear and anxiety, and it's mental thinking that's negative. That causes a nocebo effect, which means more or amplified symptoms in the body. Higher levels of catastrophizing elicit a correspondingly higher level of emotional response to pain. And it's this emotional response to pain, again, that creates more pain, amplifies pain. Remember, emotion is part of pain. You can't separate pain and emotion. They're the same thing. Pain is a sensory experience, but also an emotional one. So if your emotions go up around the pain is also going to go. And so in conclusion here, this work they did here addresses a common practice with patients who receive expected and trivial imaging findings that nevertheless cause a great deal of distress and even enhance dysfunction. Our results support the need for a revision in the current standard of medical imaging information delivery. We should address imaging technology results in the same attentive manner we were taught to address history taking and conduct physical exams. Okay, so I hope this helps everybody here, that we cannot just treat the X-ray or MRI finding. Like, that's what's happening here. Many people are treating the X-ray or MRI or scan finding as if that's the truth here, without taking and looking at your own history, which is so important, which includes a physical history, but even more importantly, a psychological history. Because as I see with many of the conditions I treat in people are having psychological distress, or what we call stress. And that is the main issue here. The stress they're having in here in the brain is filtering through the nervous system and creating these symptoms, or amplifying or exacerbating symptoms in their body. And when this happens, we can get into a chronic pain loop that becomes a vicious circle, and people get stuck in for years at times, and then going down the medical route and going through physical treatments that don't work, and then things get worse and worse. So I hope this was helpful, everybody. I'll link the article here in the notes. Again, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up. I want to spread the word more and more. If you're looking for support, or you want to know about your condition, what's going on with you, reach out to me. Again, This is the work I do completely solely now. I switched out of just regular physiotherapy into doing this work to help people recover from conditions that I believe are caused by the brain and nervous system and not the body. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.